Hey there guys, welcome to a video. Today we have an empty PC case and a bunch of PC parts, and today it's build guide time on how to build your first AM4 based machine. So here is my AMD A6 9500 with a A320MA Pro. I've got an NVIDIA GT 710 over there, a Drivo 128GB SSD, an exhaust fan, a 1TB hard drive, 2 screwdrivers. I don't know why I have a flathead, so that can go back in there, and a 500-watt power supply and some SATA cables. So today I'm going to show you how to build your own custom AM4 machine that is upgradable as time goes on. Okay, so this will be your A320M, just bare bones. So how would you assemble this? Well, it's quite easy. So what you want to do, I'm just going to fold this down for now, is that you want to get your bracket. Now obviously this will be pre-installed, but obviously I'm using a stock Ryzen heatsink for my A6 due to overheating reasons. So obviously you want to lay down flat like that. And then you want to grab your your CPU. So obviously you need to match that corner up. This has been pre-thermal pasted. What you need to do is lift that up, and then you want to line that little triangle with that notch, that triangle there. So you want to line the pins up, and then drop, give it a little wiggle so it's in, and then swap it down like that. And there's your CPU installed. So then next, what you want to do is grab your heatsink. For me, it's the AMD Wraith Stealth. And what you're just going to do is screw in the heatsink. So I'm just going to put my phone down, and I'm just going to tighten this up. Make sure you do it in a cross pattern, just put an even amount of pressure on the CPU so you can get adequate cooling. So until I can feel that tighten, it's tightened. Do the same thing for the other screw, that's been tightened. Screwing this screw, that's been tightened. Screwing this screw, and that's been tightened, and you have installed your heatsink to your motherboard. Now obviously I have pre-applied the thermal paste, so this will not affect cooling much. I just pre-applied it, put the heatsink off, took it off just to verify it. Obviously it's still going to make proper contact with the CPU, so it's still going to be fine, so don't worry about me overheating. Now, next, what you'd want is RAM. So obviously, RAM's not arrived yet, but when I do get my RAM, I will have a pre-video of me installing the RAM into the system while it's in its case. So I'm gonna have that playing over this voiceover. So then obviously, once you've installed your RAM, which you're gonna line up the notch with the RAM stick notch, you can slot it in until you hear a click. And then what you want to do is obviously, once you've done that, you must plug in your power supply. And out the box, test if the system posts. If it posts, you have a working board and CPU with RAM. Now obviously if it doesn't work on the first post, obviously you need to update the BIOS. I'm gonna update this thing to the latest BIOS, even though this thing works on this CPU, because this is a used board and CPU, brand new cooler. And obviously when I've done that, well, when everything's all updated, this is when the machine itself can be properly assembled in your case, like this hand-me-down case from my dad. Thank you, Dad, for giving me the case. I also forgot to mention, if you want a nice clean look, what I recommend is that you tie a little knot with the cable of the heatsink fan. So that's the Wraith Stealth fan, and you just want to line up that little notch, that little plastic notch with the fan header, and push, and then there you go. So obviously this is going to make it look a little neater, and then not going to have a little cable everywhere. Now it's time for case assembly. Obviously I don't have RAM yet, but I'll have RAM shown in the video somewhere. But first of all, let's install this 80mm fan in the case. So how are you going to do it? It's very simple actually, because all you need to do is some maneuvering, if you want to say that. So here's what you want to do. I'm going to align that so you can see. You should be able to see that. Okay, so what you want to do is line that up with the holes. Now obviously we've got a bit of a confliction here actually. The fan is actually too big for this. Oh well, I can actually maneuver it enough so it can be used in here. So tilt it a bit. Through, that went through, and it's now holding it in. And now what we're going to do is to make it look neat. Well, we can't anyway, because it's going to have to go over. Either way, it's going to get a bit messed up in here. But no, I'm just going to let this dangle in here for obviously letting it. Well, I'm just going to let it dangle in there. So there's the cooling fan right there. I'll then show you how to install your motherboard. Okay, so you may notice my RAM stick just come in. It's Crucial 4 gigs of RAM, DDR4 2400, just a placeholder until I get some more RAM. It costed me £20, well, £16 for that much RAM. Good deal that. And now, let's install the motherboard. So I'm just going to stand this phone up, and I'm going to show you how you install the board. So first of all, this I/O shield is needed and is absolutely necessary, or else obviously you won't be able to, you know, it also serves as a grounding for the I/O, so if your I/O ever acts weird without an I/O shield, that's your reason why, because you need one of these, because it also acts as a grounding point. So what you need to do, it should clips in, like that. So it should be flat with the I/O cover now, like this. Should look like that, flat with the cover. And then the motherboard can be prepared to be installed into the system. That on like that, and the motherboard is now installed. So now, since we've got the board installed, as you can see here, we've now got to get our I/O sorted out before I put my power supply in this thing, because it's a very different way of doing it on here. Next, I'm going to put the hard drive in. Now, the hard drive is easy to install, actually. All I need is actually 2 screws, because I'm going to put this in the bottom drive, or the drive caddy. And all I'm just going to do, I'm just going to repose it here. I'm just gonna screw that in right here. That's threaded in. I could just put 1 screw in, but obviously I want to properly mount this, so I'm going to put 2 screws in just to keep this thing really secure. Right here, thread that in. That's all done. So I've got these screws left, so I'm going to be careful. So I don't have to worry about the graphics card. So actually now is a good time to plug in the exhaust fan. So the exhaust fan is going to go right there into the system fan header. I'm going to tuck that behind there, behind the Wraith Stealth. So it's there. Now I'm going to plug in the SATA cables. So I'm going to plug in I'm going to plug these in, going in from the side, around the back of the case, going back into the case, and this one going into the SSD, and then this blue one, since this is the shortest, is going to go here. It's recommended that you do not put right angled connectors on the board, or else on MSI says that right angle connections can cause data loss. So I'm going to plug the right angle into the hard drive, and then I'm going to plug the straight cable into the board itself. So now that should be properly configured. Now it's time for power. So obviously I'm going to relocate this, so you can see that me doing the hard with the power supply. This is your power supply. You need your power supply screws. I've got 1 screw, I've got 2 screws, and I've got 3 screws. Stage of building, We have your power supply. We've got your motherboard, CPU, and your RAM. We've got your fans plugged in. We've got the I/O properly in. We have a graphics card. So this is the GT 710. I've used this in multiple builds, and it's a quite decent card if you're only doing lightweight gaming and just basic stuff. Now, also, my friend hated it when I said I was going to use this thing for 3D modeling, but obviously, I'm only doing this just to feel the true power of a dual core instead of using 4 logical processors, even though technically that's a dual core, but either way. Now the board is in. This now should be done. Because all we've got to do now is just slide this on, just like that. Clip it on, and then where's our side panel? Side panel. The back side panel must go back on. So obviously we're going to use the punch out as a good opportunity, just so we can get these cables in, well, keep these cables in. Should line up. Push. Make sure you don't feel any cables coming out, which in case I don't. That's good. So now this machine is ready to boot. Okay, the computer is now set up and ready. So here we go. Fingers crossed. Oh, hang on a sec. Got to flip the switch. Good. Should spin at a low RPM. We have a display. Hey, nice. We have a working machine. So, yep, CPU or memory CMOS has been cleared. Enter the BIOS, so F1 to run setup. Here we are, MSI. So running 4 gigs of RAM. Support for overclocking, max speed on the RAM. I may put the latest BIOS on here just to keep it running and that. Obviously you can see the cooler was a bit overkill because it's running at such a low RPM. But if I want, I could actually modify the fan curve on this. So I need to go to the fan curve, overclocking profiles, media not found, okay. CPU, DRAM voltage, auto. This may actually help the CPU boost a bit with the heatsink on it. So it's detected everything legacy plus UEFI, surprisingly. Is there a way can I modify the thing? Integrate peripheral graphics, integrate graphic. Hey, I can enable iGPU on this, surprisingly. EMI tells me everything. Oh, what? It's running version 1.0. I should update the BIOS. SSD detected, hard drive detected. So now, obviously, let's reboot. So here we are. We are now going to boot into Windows. When it starts to post, we have now, in theory, there we go, Pro Series. I should now, in theory, boot to Windows. Or are we going to boot Whooper? Aha! So obviously, in order for me to get the custom thing, I have to put this thing in UEFI. But obviously I don't have UEFI on this, so I may actually run this thing off UEFI next time. But other than that, the machine's done. So thank you for watching this machine getting built from the start to now, and seeing this thing get to this screen, getting ready. Just remember, 4 gigs of RAM, 500 watt power supply, GT710, and an AMD A6 9500 that also has an iGPU. Kind of crap, but oh well, this machine I'm not going to be using for intense games or anything. But as long as it gets the basics and I've launched into Windows, this machine is going to do me well, it's going to serve me well. Sadly the power light's dead on this case, but oh well, I just plugged it in to show people how to do it. And if you have a similar configuration, actually do let me know. Also, the friend that bought me the friend that allowed me to buy that stuff, buy the CPU and the board for you, thank you for letting me do that. This thing's going to get treated well. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this build guide, and I will see you later.